language, till now what we were saying is the way you speak tells us about you. It tells us if you're fine, right? A fine young man or a fine woman, or not so fine. But now what we're learning is that a person's language, the way they spoke, actually affected, it impacted their role. The kohen was taken out of service. So now the Gemara brings another story where someone's mouth, where someone's words ended up taking their life. Okay, so let's take a look. This takes us back to this is a Pesach story. So now we're coming back to the tractate. We're learning Psachim. It's about Pesach. So we come back to Pesach. The last word on the line is Hahu. We're about 20 lines from the bottom, a little bit less. This story is a famous Talmudic story. Says the Gemara, Hahu Arma'a. There was an Armenian. He wasn't Jewish. The Havas Solik, he would go up to Jerusalem together with all the Jews, and the Ochil, he would eat Psachim, he would eat from the Paschal lamb in Yerushalayim. Now, one of the issues, the issue isn't so much that he wasn't Jewish, the issue is also that he wasn't circumcised. Even a Jew that doesn't have a bris is not allowed to eat from the Karban Pesach. But the Gemara says, Omar, he said. Now, when he says, it's like in his mind, right? He's saying to himself. Ksiv, the Pasuk says, it says in the Torah, this week's Chitas, this week's Chumash, it says, Kol ben nechor lo yochal bo. A stranger, a foreigner, should not eat from the Karban Pesach. Then there's another Pasuk, Kol orel lo yochal bo. Anyone who is uncircumcised should not eat from the Karban Pesach. Va'ano, and I, hakachilna, I eat mishufre shufre. I eat from the best. I'm like everybody else. I'm eating the Karban Pesach. I'm tricking and fooling everybody and just eating from the Karban Pesach. So he came home. Amar le Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, in the city where he lived, there was an elderly sage, Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, who was too weak to travel to Yerushalayim. And he was stuck at home. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, so this guy opened up his big mouth. And he told Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira about his feet. I eat from the Karban Pesach. So Rabbi Yehuda says to him, Mi kasofu lecha me'alya? Do they give you part of the tail? The tail is the best. That's the best. They're not giving that to you because that's the part you're not allowed to eat. Amar le, he said, Loi, they're not giving me the tail. Now let's think about what happened. Rabbi Yehuda is telling the Armenian, they really know who you are. They know who you are, and they're not giving you the best part. But he knows the truth. Do they know who he is? Do they know? Do the people in Yerushalayim know that he's not Jewish? No, they don't know. So he knows the truth. He knows that they don't know. So Rabbi Yehuda says, how about the tail? No problem, no sweat. They don't know who I am. So he goes up to Yerushalayim. Kisalik, when he goes up to Yerushalayim the next year, Amar lahu, he says, May aliyah safuli, give me some of the tail. Amrulay, they said, aliyah legavaya. The tail goes to the Mizbeach. The Gavoa Soka. Amrulay, they said to him, Man Amar Hachi, who told you to ask for the tail? Amar lahu, he said, Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. Rabbi Yehuda told me to ask. He has nothing to suspect. They think he's Jewish. Amru, they said to themselves, my hi, what's this? My hi, come on, what's this story here? What's going on here? What happened So what happened? They looked into it. Botku basrei. They investigated. Ve'ashkachu de'armohu. They discovered that he was an Armenian. Ve'kotluhu. And they killed him. So his mouth got him killed. Sholchulei Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, the Jewish people sent a message to Rabbi Yehuda.
Is that really worth the death penalty? And that you're Jewish as
No, but it's eating from the Korban Pesach.
that does have a death penalty.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, in other words, there's a discussion in the commentaries why he was liable for the death penalty. It's a discussion. It's not so simple. Okay, we don't. In other words, our understanding of why he was of the fact that they killed him, it's all extrapolation. In other words, we know that they killed him. Now we're trying to reverse construct why. So there are different opinions as to why. It's not so clear cut. Sholchulei Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, they sent a message to Rabbi Yehuda. They said, Shalom lecha, peace unto you, Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. De'at b'Nitzivin, you're so far away from Yerushalayim. You're in Nitzivin. But mitzudascha, your web, your net, your influence is spread out all the way to Yerushalayim. Prusa b'Yerushalayim. Okay, that's the end of that story. Two more stories, and I'll let you go. The Gemara says Rav Kana cholash. Rav Kana was weak. He was ill. He was on his deathbed. Sholchu Rabbanon, Rabbi Shua Berei de Rav Idi. They sent one of the sages to go see how he's doing. How's he doing, Rav Kana? Amrulei, they said, Zil bedoik my dine, go see what's going on with him. Also he went, Ashkeche, he discovered him, the Noch Nafshe, that he had passed away, that Rav Kana had passed away. Kare lilavushe, he rent his garments, he tore his garments. The ahadre lekare laachere, he curled back the tear on his garment. Ubachi va'asi, he cried, and he came back to his friends. Amrulei, his friends said, Noch nafshe, he passed away. Amar lahu, he said, Ano leiko amina, I didn't say anything. I didn't say it. You inferred it, but I didn't say it. Umaitzi diba huksil, one who spreads bad news is a fool. And this is, of course, the common practice today, that we try not to tell people bad news. Right? We try not to be the bearer of bad news. The Gemara concludes with one more story.
Is it that you shouldn't say or shouldn't hear it?
You shouldn't say. Yochanan Chakuka. So Yochanan, from this place, or Rashi says it was his name. Tosfos says he was a scribe. That's what Chakuka means. We have three opinions here about what Chakuka means. So this Yochanan nafak likiryasa. He went out to the villages, to the farmers. He wanted to find out, how's the year going? How's the what's happening in the farms? How's the harvest? Is it a good year? How's the produce this year? So he went out to the villages to go find out how it's going this year. Also, when he came, Amrulei, they said to him, Chitim nasu yafais, this year the wheat is good. Amar lahem, he said, Sa'irim nasu yafais, just thinking how this worked out, who was speaking to whom. Anyway, the point, right, what happens here? He asks about wheat, they say about barley. He asks about barley, they say about wheat. They're avoiding the question. In other words, the harvest was bad, but they didn't want to tell him that it was bad. So whatever he asked about, they spoke about the other thing. So Omar Lay, they said to him, "You're coming to bring us bad news. Say uvaser lasusim v'lachamoirim." Go tell the horses and donkeys your news. They were upset with him. Diksiv hasa'orim v'atevan lasusim. The oats and the barley are for horses. Yeah. Lasusim v'larechesh, for the horses, for the cattle. Says the Gemara, what should he have said? What else could he have said? Says the Gemara, he could have said, Ishtakad nasu chitim yofis. Last year, the grain was good. Last year, the barley was good. He didn't have to. They asked him about wheat. He answered about barley. Barley is for cows, for horses. He shouldn't have answered for horses. The Gemara concludes with another little anecdote. The Gemara says that Rav Chia was Rav's uncle from both his father and mother's side. So his father and mother had a half brother. The two of them weren't related at all, but they shared a half brother. Okay? You understand what I mean? So someone married and had 2 children. Someone married and had a child, and then one of the spouses passed away, right? And Leah now marries a new husband. I say Leah because we say Reuven, Shimon, Rachel, Leah, right? Marries another woman and has another child, and then Leah passes away, and then the father married someone else. So they share a half sister. So Rav Chia was Rav's uncle from both, right? Rav's father was a half brother of Rav Chia, sharing one father, and Rav's mother was a half brother, half sister to Rav Chia, sharing one mother. Okay, so Rav Chia had traveled, and he came back to visit Rav, and he said, "How's your dad?" And he said, "Oh, my mom is great." He says, "How's your mom?" He says, "Oh, my dad is great." So Rav Chia understood that both his siblings had passed away. Right? He hadn't been there for a long time. So, and the Gemara describes how he sat shiva. It was what we call a shmua rechoika, something that had happened beforehand. So he didn't sit shiva for a whole week. He sat shiva briefly. But the Gemara obviously brings the story again to emphasize that we should speak positively. Okay. So I mentioned last week that I wanted to read this Gemara with you about speaking in a refined way, and that God willing next week, I want to take a look at this for a moment. We're the beginning of Shvat. Right, next week tomorrow's Rosh Chodesh. So 2, 3, 4. For the next 6 weeks, we're going to learn the story of Purim in the Gemara. Okay? So it's not going to be Talmudic. It's going to be more the story of Purim, the Midrashim. Some of it you're familiar with, and some of it you're not. So that will be the schedule for the next 6 weeks. And then after that, we'll go back to Pesach, because it'll be right before Pesach. Okay?
From in the Gemara?
Yeah, in the Gemara. Yeah, in the Gemara. Okay, so we'll see everybody tomorrow, God willing.